The galaxy was burning. Stars were no longer only lights in the sky. They had become battlefields where fire and metal clashed. Ships moved like shadows across the black space, and explosions painted the darkness red. Entire worlds waited in fear, for the war between humans and aliens showed no mercy. In the middle of this storm lived a princess. She was not an ordinary ruler's daughter. She was the daughter of an alien emperor, a leader of a proud empire that had sworn to crush humanity. From the moment she was born, she was told that humans were weak, dangerous, and unworthy of trust. She was taught that her people were superior and that one day the alien race would rule all stars. Yet, in the silence of her chamber, the princess carried a secret she could tell no one. Her heart, against all rules, against all teachings, was drawn to a human soldier. She had seen him once, not in person, but through the eyes of war. A secret screen hidden deep in the palace had shown her his image, an exhausted fighter standing tall when all others around him had fallen. His armor was broken, his face covered with dust, yet his eyes shone with a fire that even her kind feared. That moment had carved itself into her memory. She did not know why, but she could not forget him. Day after day, she searched for news of him. Reports of battles reached her halls. She listened more carefully when they mentioned the humans, waiting, hoping to hear of the soldier again. And when his name was whispered by her people as a warning, when they spoke of the human who would not surrender, her secret grew heavier. The princess knew she should hate him. She knew she should dream of his defeat, maybe even his death. But her heart told another story. It beat faster when she thought of his courage. It whispered to her that in the middle of endless war, he was different. He was a spark of hope. Outside her palace, fire and war ruled. Soldiers prepared day and night. Her father's council planned new attacks, speaking of destroying human fleets, of burning their cities, of making them kneel. Every word was sharp like a blade, but inside, the princess was somewhere else. She was trapped between loyalty to her people and a dangerous longing she could never admit. At night, she stood by the tall window of her chamber, watching the stars. Every light reminded her of the human soldier fighting far away. She wondered if he still lived, if he still stood with the same strength she had once seen. Sometimes, she closed her eyes and imagined meeting him. What would he say? Would he hate her instantly because she was his enemy? Or would he see in her eyes what she felt in her heart, that not all wars are made of hatred? The more she thought, the more restless she became. She tried to lock her feelings away, tried to remind herself that she was a princess of the alien empire. But the heart does not listen to comments. And the more she tried to silence it, the louder it grew. She began to walk through the palace halls with a mask on her face. To everyone else, she was the proud daughter of the empire, strong and loyal. But inside, every step felt heavier. She was carrying a secret that could destroy her. If her father ever learned, if the council ever suspected, she would be called a traitor. Her name would be erased from history. Still, she could not stop. The thought of the soldier followed her like a shadow. It whispered to her when she closed her eyes. It stayed with her when she smiled in front of the court. It was there in her silence, in her dreams, and in her fears. The war outside grew worse. Humans resisted harder than her people had expected. Battles were lost. Armies returned broken. Whispers spread that humans were more dangerous than they had believed. But to the princess, those whispers were not warnings. They were proof of his strength. Every time she heard of a human victory, she felt a strange relief. Perhaps he had survived. Perhaps he was still out there. Perhaps the universe would bring them together one day. But in the same breath, fear haunted her. What if he was killed in the next battle? What if the flames of war swallowed him before she ever had the chance to meet him? The princess stood by her window again, looking at the night sky. Stars flickered like distant eyes, watching her. Somewhere out there, the human soldier was fighting for survival. Somewhere out there, he might be bleeding or standing tall against impossible odds. And here she was, safe in her palace, her heart torn in silence. She whispered words that no one could hear. Why am I drawn to you, human? Why do I care when I should not? The question burned inside her. Why would an alien princess, heir to an empire, risk everything for a human enemy? The galaxy did not yet know the answer. But soon, her secret would no longer stay hidden. Soon, choices would come that would change her life, and his, forever. The galaxy was louder than thunder. Ships clashed above planets, filling the sky with light and fire. On the ground, soldiers fought with weapons that burned holes through steel. The war between humans and aliens showed no sign of ending. Every day was another storm, another field of death, another chance for heroes or for graves. Among the chaos was one man, a human soldier. He had no crown, no throne, and no empire to protect him. He had only his rifle, his armor cracked from too many battles, and a heart that refused to break. This soldier was not the strongest, nor the fastest, but he carried something rare, an unshaken spirit. Again and again, when his squad was surrounded, when others fell, he stood tall. His enemies saw him as stubborn, impossible to kill. His people saw him as hope. Far away, in her palace of glass and stone, the alien princess heard his name again. Whispers reached her ears, reports of a human fighter who refused to surrender, who led small groups against impossible odds. Each story made her pulse faster. She wondered, could it be the same soldier I once saw? The war drew them closer. One fateful day, chance broke the walls between their worlds. A ruined city lay in silence after a brutal clash. Smoke curled above broken towers, streets cracked open by fire. The princess had been sent on a rare mission by her council. She was to inspect the ruins, to witness the cost of war, to remind herself of her people's strength. She walked among guards and advisors, her eyes sharp, but her heart heavy. And there, hidden in the shadows of the wreckage, the human soldier moved carefully. He was wounded, his leg weak, but he would not stop. He needed to escape before alien patrols found him. His squad was gone. He was the last. The princess walked through the broken street, her eyes scanning the remains of human resistance. She should have felt pride, but instead she felt sorrow. She wondered how many lives had been taken in the name of victory. Then, her gaze caught movement, a figure in the smoke. Her guards had not seen him yet, but she had. Their eyes met across the ruins. For one breath, time stopped. He knew who she was, the clothing, the guards behind her, the way she carried herself. She was not just anyone. She was royalty, the enemy's bloodline. He should have raised his weapon. He should have fired. She knew who he was, the dust-covered armor, the human mark on his chest, the wounds that told stories of war. He was the soldier she had dreamed about, the figure who haunted her nights. She should have called her guards. She should have shouted his name as an enemy. But neither moved. In that single glance, the battlefield fell silent. There was no war, no empire, no throne. Only two hearts standing in the ruins, trapped by the rules of their people, yet connected by something deeper. Her guards called out, pulling her attention away. She blinked, hiding the rush of feelings inside her. The soldier slipped back into the shadows, unseen by all but her. She said nothing. Later, in her chamber, she replayed that moment again and again. His eyes had not shown hatred. They had shown fire, yes, but also humanity, courage, pain, and something even her kind could understand. She asked herself a question she could not answer. Why did I not betray him? Why did I let him go? The soldier, hiding in the city's ruins, both the same. Why did she stay silent? Why did the alien princess, who could have ended my life with a single word, choose not to? Neither of them knew that this small meeting was the spark that would change everything. The war would grow worse. The battles would spread to more worlds. Their people would demand blood. But somewhere, in the silence between duty and desire, an alien princess and a human soldier had seen each other, not as enemies, but as something far more dangerous. The galaxy was not ready for what would come next. The palace was a place of power, filled with shining halls and endless guards. But to the princess it felt like a cage. Every step echoed with duty. Every word reminded her of loyalty. The War Council spoke of numbers, fleets, and victories. They laughed about human losses and promised that the end of mankind was near. But the princess heard none of it. Her mind was still in the ruins of that city. She remembered the human soldier's eyes. He had been her enemy, but he had not looked at her with hatred. His stare had been sharp, but behind it she had seen something familiar: fear, pain, and courage. That night, she could not sleep. The memory burned inside her chest. Why did I not betray him? She thought. She could have spoken his name, and the guards would have dragged him away. Her people would have praised her for loyalty. Yet she had chosen silence. Days passed, and whispers grew. Scouts spoke of a human fighter moving through alien lines, always escaping, always surviving. The princess knew at once. It was him. Her secret grew heavier. If her father knew that she had seen the soldier and stayed silent, she would be called traitor. And yet, she wanted to help him. It began with small acts. When she passed through the war chambers, she stole glances at maps. She memorized patrol paths, whispered them into the night where no one could hear. A messenger found strange orders at times, delays that gave the soldier space to escape. The human soldier noticed. Each time he slipped past a trap, each time a patrol came late, he wondered, is someone helping me? He did not know her hand was guiding him from afar. The princess's heart beat faster with every risk. Her people trusted her as a loyal daughter of the empire. They could never imagine that she was bending fate for a human, but each secret choice tied her closer to him. Her closest maid noticed the change. "You look restless, my princess," the maid whispered one evening. "Are you troubled by the war?" The princess forced a smile. Yes, the war. She could not speak the truth, not even to her most trusted servant. In the council chamber, the elders grew suspicious. The humans resist too strongly, one growled. They should have fallen by now. Someone is helping them. His eyes scanned the room. For a moment, they paused on her. The princess held her breath, then lowered her gaze. The suspicion passed, but the danger grew. The human soldier, too, was torn. He had once sworn that all aliens were his enemy. But now, in the shadows of battle, he could not stop remembering her face. The moment of silence between them haunted him. Why did she not give me away? He asked himself. Why would an alien princess spare me? He did not know that the answer lay in her heart. One night, the princess stood at her window again, stars shining cold above her. Her hands trembled as she held a small device, an encoded transmitter. If she pressed the key, a signal would go out, a warning to the soldier of the trap being set against him. If anyone discovered it, she would be finished. Her father's voice thundered in her mind. Humans are weak. Humans are your enemy. Your duty is to the empire. Her heart whispered something else. If you stay silent, he will die. The princess closed her eyes. She pressed the key. Far away, in the broken wastelands of a human camp, the soldier received a faint signal. He followed it, trusting the unknown hand that seemed to guard him. And when he escaped another death, his suspicion turned to certainty. Someone is protecting me. But who? The galaxy saw only war, fire, and death. But hidden in its heart, two souls were beginning to weave a dangerous connection. The princess knew her choice was no longer small. She was betraying her crown, her father, and her people. One day, the truth would surface, and the punishment would be greater than death. Still, she whispered into the night, I will not let him fall, even if it costs me everything. The war thundered on. Fleets moved. Planets burned. But somewhere between duty and desire, an alien princess had made her choice. And that choice was about to change not only her life, but the fate of the galaxy itself. The palace of the alien empire was a fortress of steel and light, built to crush all who opposed it. No one dared to question the emperor. No one dared to defy the council. But one night, everything inside those walls changed. The human soldier had been captured. He was dragged through the grand hall in chains, his armor broken, his face bloodied. Yet his eyes still carried the same fire the princess had once seen in the ruins of war. Guards shoved him to his knees before the council. The elders watched with cold smiles, their voices sharp as blades. This human has caused us too much trouble, one of them said. He must die. The chamber roared in agreement. The soldier said nothing. He stared at the floor, his body weak, but his spirit unbroken. The princess sat beside her father, her hands trembling under her robe. Her secret had been exposed in the worst way possible. The soldier she had helped in silence was now at the mercy of her people. She wanted to scream, to stand, to fight. But her lips stayed shut. If she moved too soon, suspicion would fall on her. The emperor raised his hand for silence. His voice was deep and final. Tomorrow, this human will be executed before the people. Let his death be a warning to all who resist us. The council cheered. The guards dragged the soldier away. That night, the princess's heart broke. She could not sleep. She could not breathe. Her mind repeated the same truth. If I do nothing, he will die. At last, she made her choice. When the moonlight touched the palace walls, the princess slipped into the shadows. She wore a cloak to hide her face, and in her hand was a key stolen from the guard commander. Step by step, she made her way into the prison chambers below the palace. The air was damp, filled with the sound of chains and distant cries. There, behind cold iron bars, the soldier sat. His head lifted when he heard her footsteps. For a moment, he thought it was another guard, but when the cloak fell back and he saw her face, his eyes widened. "You," he whispered, voice rough from pain. She pressed the key into the lock, her hands shaking. "There is no time. If you stay, you die." The lock clicked open. The soldier staggered to his feet. He stared at her, disbelief mixing with suspicion. "Why? Why are you helping me?" Her eyes met his. She had no perfect answer, only the truth. "Because I cannot watch you die." Before he could speak, the sound of boots echoed down the corridor. Guards were coming. "Move," she hissed. Together they ran, the halls alive with alarms. Sirens wailed through the palace. Lights turned red. The emperor's voice thundered across the chambers. "The human has escaped. Find him. Kill him." Guards swarmed like a tide. Blades clashed. The soldier, even weakened, fought with desperate strength. The princess, untrained in war, guided him through hidden passages she had learned as a child. Through fire-lit holes they fled. A sword cut her cloak, sparks flying. A blaster bolt scorched the wall beside her head. She stumbled, but the soldier caught her arm, pulling her forward. "Stay close," he shouted. They burst through a gate, the night air cold on their faces. Behind them, the palace burned with light and fury. The escape was not yet over. Patrols filled the courtyards, ships roared overhead. But for the first time, they were side by side, not as princess and prisoner, not as alien and human, but as two souls running for their lives. The soldier's strength began to fail. His wounds slowed him. "Go," he gasped. "You can still return. You can still be safe." But she shook her head, her eyes fierce. "If I go back, I lose my soul. I choose this path." Her words gave him strength. Together they fought through the last gates, their bodies covered in sweat and blood. Every step was a promise, every breath a rebellion. Behind them, the empire screamed for revenge. Ahead of them, the unknown waited. And somewhere in the stars, a legend was being born. The story of an alien princess who risked everything, and the human soldier who refused to fall. Their escape was only the beginning. The night of their escape was only the beginning. For days, the princess and the human soldier moved through shadows, hiding among ruins, fleeing across deserts and forests under alien moons. Every step carried danger. Patrol ships searched the skies, soldiers hunted the ground, and the voice of the emperor thundered across the empire. "Find them. Bring them back alive, or dead." The soldier's wounds slowed him, but he refused to stop. The princess stayed by his side, tending his injuries with herbs, wrapping his arm when he could not lift it, guiding him when his vision blurred. She had never lived outside the palace walls before. She had never known hunger or cold nights, or the fear of footsteps behind her. Yet she did not break. The fire inside her grew stronger each day. At first, the soldier wondered if her courage would fade. She had been raised in a world of silk and power, while he had grown among war and ashes. But when danger came, it was she who pulled him forward, she who whispered hope when despair grew heavy. "Why do you still believe in me?" he asked one night, when the stars burned cold and they sat hidden in a cave. Her answer was simple. "Because I see you as more than an enemy. I see you as a man who fights for what is right." The soldier stared at her, And in that moment, the walls inside his heart began to fall. News of their escape spread like wildfire. Whispers carried through soldiers, merchants, and slaves. The story changed with every telling. A princess who betrayed her people, a soldier who stole her heart, two enemies who became allies. Some cursed her name, calling her a traitor, but others began to hope. If an alien princess could see humanity as more than beasts, then perhaps peace was possible. Perhaps the war could end. The emperor, however, saw only betrayal. His rage shook the throne. He swore before the council, "I will crush them both. Their love will burn, and their story will die with them." But fate had already chosen differently. One evening, deep in the wilderness, the princess and soldier reached the ruins of an old outpost. From there, they could see the stars, millions of them, glittering like fire across the black sea of space. The soldier spoke first. "If we survive this, what then? You can never return. I can never stop fighting." She looked at him with steady eyes. "Then we build a new path. Not as alien or human, not as princess or soldier, as two souls who refuse to let hatred decide our lives." In that quiet moment, surrounded by the endless universe, they held each other's hands. No crown, no weapon, no law could erase what they felt. The empire hunted them, but they never captured them. The soldiers' people learned of the princess's choice, and though many distrusted her, some saw her as proof that not all aliens were enemies. A new rumor began to spread, not of war, but of hope. It was said that wherever the princess and soldier walked, rebellion grew. Villages raised flags of freedom. Armies whispered their names before battle. Children dreamed of a galaxy where love was stronger than fear. Their journey was not without pain. They lost friends, they faced betrayal, and they fought battles that seemed impossible. But through it all, they held to one truth. Their love was not weakness, it was strength. Years later, bards and storytellers would retell their tale. Some called it the forbidden romance. Others called it the first step to peace, but most simply called it the legend of love. It was the story of a princess who risked her throne for her heart. The story of a soldier who chose hope over hate. The story of two souls who defied an empire. And though their enemies tried to erase them, the legend only grew louder. Because legends are not born in palaces or on thrones. Legends are born in the fire of struggle, in the courage to love when the world demands war. And so, across the stars, the people remembered, an alien princess loved a human soldier, and that love changed the galaxy forever.